So this is really a very cool show from the looks of it, and it's different because of the whole magic aspect. Tell me what it was like when you were first pitched this. Did you see like, okay, another FBI procedural, but then we see the magic part of it and you go, oh, I see what they're doing here.
I mean, the pilot episode was so speaking of distractions. I mean, the action on the FBI side of things was compelling on its own, and Kay is a really strong character, and someone I feel kind of lucky to play because she is strong and accomplished and independent in that way. But you add the magic of it all, and I honestly, all ages, all walks of life, I don't think I've ever met anyone who does not like magic. I think people are skeptical of it and sometimes get frustrated when they don't understand it, but everybody wants to watch it and either figure out how it was done or not know how it was done because they love the magic and don't want it spoiled for them. So those two elements together really excited me.
Cool.
And what quality? She's such a she seems like such a badass. We meet her and she's speaking Russian. And what qualities do you love about her?
Well, like you said, I mean, she's kicking indoors, and she's on PJs with the most wanted criminals in the world, and like talking face to face to them with such bravery. That's wonderful to play. I wish I had a little more of that in my own personality. She just kind of like brushes things off and keeps it moving. But she's also really compassionate. She's got that side of her too. So she's a really well-rounded character, and that's what you hope to play when you're casting something or when you're considering a role.
Can I ask a follow-up, or should I wait? I don't want to be rude. Okay. Were you interested in magic when you were a kid, or what were your earliest memories of magic?
I mean, I had those very basic. I had a magic kit where it comes with a top hat and a wand, and you all the abracadabras and these these spells. But I didn't practice magic. I went to a performing arts high school, and there were always talent shows. And for one of our spring shows, this girl who was, to me, just a break dancer came on stage, and she was a really accomplished magician as well. So one of those things where I didn't seek it out, but I was always ready to sit down and watch it.
Did you have any magic training before you started? I see weapons on the wall.
And thankfully, I have not had to have any magic weapon thus far. That's Cameron's world and the magic team's world. Sometimes they'll threaten to have me like do a card trick or something, and I'm just like, please no, just leave the guns to me. And speaking of that kind of training, I hadn't had any weapons training prior to the start of show. But they hooked me up with an FBI agent. So the FBI version of Frances and David, who are our magic consultants. And she'd been with the agency, the Bureau, for 30 years, retired now, but answered every question that I had, and went to an incredible shooting range. I'd never been to even one of those out in Ridgewood. Just state of the art, everything. How to hold a gun, how to properly clear a room, and I think that's kind of something you never stop learning. So I have to brush up every time we have a scene where I have to, we've got a weapons specialist on hand to say, you're not keeping it real right now. Like this is, you'd have your head blown off if you came into the room that way. So
did anything surprise you about the training?
Just kind of the level of respect you have for a weapon when there are not even real bullets in it. You have a blank, and you still feel the weight of the responsibility of it all. And we obviously, props shows you that the chamber is empty before you get started, but it's still, you can't not, your adrenaline in those situations goes up. Kind of. That surprised me because it's a prop, it's a toy gun, but you do feel the weight of it.
Knowing what you know now, do you think it might be helpful if we had more magicians in the FBI?
I think definitely. Jack hadn't brought this to my attention before, but when we went out to TCAs in LA, and there were a lot of questions like that. Oh, this is so far-fetched. Would this ever happen? And apparently the Houdini partnered up at some point with either a police force or the FBI or CIA or something like that to try to give it a go, because these guys are masters in illusion, and a lot of the skills that they apply to their tricks are, utilized by some of the top criminals in the world to pull off their heists and all this, their thefts and things.
You mentioned the TCAs. I was there at New York Comic Con when you were doing your panels. What's that like, getting the vibe from the audience?
It's such a wonderful, I mean, at first it's nerve-wracking because you don't know how anyone's going to respond to it. You know the people who you've acted alongside with, and you watch it and you're thinking of, your friends and their hard work and your colleagues, and you're excited because it's your work and it's entertaining. But to sit in a room and see the audience reaction is really encouraging. I think we were on episode, we might have been on episode 3 or 4 when we did Comic-Con. So you think what you're doing is maybe good, but you don't know, and to have that kind of reassurance is really nice.
Speaking a little bit more about audience reaction, magicians tend to be really proprietary
Sure.
about the way they do things.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, have you had any feedback from real magicians about whether or not, you guys are like spoiling it by showing how things are done? Or
We haven't yet, but Francis Milotti and David Kwong. David Kwong is a producer on the show, and they're both they're phenomenal magicians. They come up with most of the concepts for these heists, and they teach Jack everything he'd ever need to know. They are very careful not to be excommunicated by their own peers, so they're not going to give anything up. They don't want to ruin magic and or the careers of their colleagues, so they show you just enough.
Tell me about your chemistry with Jack, because he dives into trickery, and you as an FBI agent are kind of trained against that.
Sure.
So is it more about calling him out on his BS or something like that?
No, the reason our relationship works so well is because we both have something to offer. I with all my resources at the FBI can hopefully help get to the bottom of who set his brother up for this murder, and he can, kind of walk me through the steps that these criminals took to pull off their crimes. So she's skeptical at first by nature because it is her job to not be tricked or deceived. She's always got to be a step ahead, and with Cameron, she's really just takes a leap of faith and thinks, okay, this guy, he's not swindling us here. This is, he's genuine in wanting to help the FBI. So skeptical, but very naturally, very organically turns into a really nice relationship of trust there.
The television landscape is very crowded with crime shows, mystery shows, and everything. Everybody loves a good mystery. That's great. Aside from the magic aspect of the show, what is it, in your opinion, that's really going to set this apart from the pack?
It's hard to say aside from the magic because it's such an integral part of the show, and I think part of the real draw of it. But the action in it is incredible. The stunt team that we've got is they're awesome. We've also got locations on the show. We're shooting in New York. We're shooting everything primarily in Brooklyn, but the whole entire series. And it's hard not to feel like the city is a character on the show, and it's such a wonderful landscape and such an interesting character. So the streets give it a kind of uniqueness and a grit that not every show has. And we've also, by the graces of God and our producer, who's so connected, been able to use locations that have not often been accessible to other productions. So, close off the First Avenue Tunnel under the United Nations. We were there on Sunday, and that's it's cool.
I was going to say, you're a New York City girl, so
Yeah.
you know the legitimacy of all this.
No, totally.
Just like the FBI is going, no. Were you sort of like, no, that's not how it works in New York?
Well, yeah, it's funny. It was last episode, I think. Kay, my character, referred to the train station as the subway station, and I thought, I don't know, in my life, have I ever said, yeah, I'm hopping on the subway? No, you say you're hopping on the train. So I feel like, I don't know, it's a good match.
When did you know you had to be an actor? And can you talk about one of the earliest memories you've had performing?
Sure. Yeah, I went to a really a really wonderful public school on the Upper West Side growing up, Piece 87, and we put on all kinds of productions, at all times, and singing, dancing. We had an arts and action program. They really focused on those things, but I didn't know until probably high school that I wanted to act. My mom made me one summer take theater classes at Harlem School of the Arts, which is down the hill from me, and I was pretty shy, and I hated the idea of having to go there every day and like get on stage, perform for people, and I loved it. And
was there one performance you remember, one show?
Yeah, my first performance at Harlem School of the Arts was for Colored Girls, and Tazaki Shange, and I played Lady in Blue, and it was such a spirited piece and so relevant. I was 12, so I was young for a lot of the subject matter, but some of the girls in the cast were 15 and were going through some of the things that the characters in that play were going through, and it was just such a strong group of women that I was like, this feels good, and I want to keep doing this. So when I went to LaGuardia, you have 4 years of 5 periods of drama a day. It just seemed like, well, what else am I going to do when I leave this place?
I'd like to follow up on.
I'd like to follow up on something that she said. How do you feel about how the pilot has changed you as an artist?
Well, this is my first job as a series regular on the show, and I feel so lucky because it's like finally, this is great. This has happened. This is happening. But I have other friends who have been doing this for a long time, and you see their grueling hours, and it's like, oh my God, am I going to be able to do this, these 12, 13, 14, 15-hour days every day, and am I going to be able to do it well? And I feel like I've proven something to myself, because you have to show up, and you have to do it, because everybody else is on, the whole crew, the rest of the cast, so, who wants to be the weakest link? And I it's really nice to know now that I can do it.
To follow up on that, going over your filmography, you, not just between film and television, but even within television, you've done network, premium cable, streaming. The television landscape has changed dramatically in the last 10 years. What's your feelings on that? Because I've asked this question before, and I've heard pros and cons from actors in the past. I'd love to get your perspective on it.
I mean, there's so much work now that for me, for actors, it's such a wonderful time, because with the Netflix and the Hulu and the cable, it's just, it provides there's so many more opportunities for work. So I think all good,
And just to follow up on that, the body of work has been, in a short period of time, a very nice eclectic mix between She's Gotta Have It and Billions. What are you looking for? Like when you, the one common actor I always hear is, I'm looking for work.
Yeah.
But is there something you're specifically?
I would love to say that there was strategy behind any of that. Like I was like, no, I'm not going to take that work because I'm going to hold out for this. But things have just fallen so wonderfully into place. It just, I don't know what's happening up there in the universe, but things have happened the way they were supposed to. And there have been jobs that I was, close to getting, that I really wanted, that I didn't get. And at the time it's like, oh God, I need to work. But like, it wasn't for me. And things have just kind of happened that way. And I feel really lucky about it. And cultivating relationships. I worked with Spike. He was the first one that gave me a break on The Brick, the HBO series that didn't get picked up. And I was like, I was 22, and I was like, how could they not pick up a Spike Lee joint? Like, what are you, stupid? Like, come on. I was sure it was in the bag. But he gave me a start, and like so many actors he's worked with, he's really remained a loyal friend to me, and has continued to give me work. So that too, those relationships help.
We hear a lot about the FBI in the news, but what's something that you were interested to learn? Is it like a part of the job that you weren't really aware of?
Well, just how many different aspects of security and law enforcement they cover. We took a tour at the New York office, which is down in, I guess, where is that? Just not Tribeca. It's all, I forget the location exactly. Lower Manhattan.
Downtown.
It's downtown.
Just downtown. It's downtown.
Exactly. One Federal Plaza or something like that. And from their tech, their experts there that are like dealing with some crazy, like, intercepting spies and all their software and their high tech, to guys who'd helped, bring in El Chapo. They do it all, and it's, you hear about the FBI, but I don't know, unless you go looking for it, you don't really know what goes on inside the FBI. So to be privy to some of that information and some of those stories was really cool.
Well, Kay Daniels is a really strong female character, and you were talking about how you're really selective sometimes with your roles. And even in Baywatch, you played a lieutenant. And that's going to serve as a great role model for, little girls, everything like that. Who did you look up to growing up, and are there any strong, female role models that you?
Yeah, sorry, it's a boring answer, but my mom and my grandmother are like two tough women. As far as being cast as strong, independent women, I feel like that's also, I haven't been selective in that way, really. Those things have come to me, which I'm grateful for. It would almost be fun to play someone like totally opposite, but I don't know, I think, I'm 6 feet tall, and I think people just imagine that I'm a strong woman. They see the stature, and they think that that's it. But yeah, my mother and my grandmother are incredible women in so many ways. That I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I wouldn't be cast as the women I usually get without them.
As an actress, what's your take on everything happening in Hollywood right now with the Me Too movement, so forth?
I think it's incredible that women are now being encouraged to really speak. Women, men, everyone who's ever felt discriminated against or objectified or been made to feel scared, that they have a voice now and feel like they have the power to speak up. And it must be incredible, or must have been incredibly frustrating all the years to see, the perpetrators of some of these heinous crimes and this awful behavior being celebrated in the media, and to quietly know who they really were. So to have that bit of, is wonderful, and I hope, we keep going until every last rat has been found out wherever they're hiding and dealt with.
On every set, every new project, there's always something new to learn, and someone you learn it from. You started out with Spike, like you said. On your last couple of projects, this one in particular, who have you learned the most from on set? We've had some incredible guest stars. We've had Billy Zane on the show and Mario Van Peebles as a guest. John Shea, and listening to some of their stories has really been wonderful for me. They come with so much experience, and just watching the way they work. Billy Zane has such a unique way of working. I watch him and I think, oh, this is maybe I take something from this. But the guys that I work with on a daily basis, also such professionalism. To approach your work with a sense of humor and humility is, all these things you take away from the people around you, if you're lucky to be surrounded on a set by people like that, and I am very lucky to be. So.
Could you see yourself acting on Broadway? Because I know you said you have this performing arts background. What would you love to play?
I'd love to go back to stage at some point. I'm sad to say I don't have I don't have a wonderful singing voice, and haven't had to dance for a while. But a play would be, you see something like Fences. I love August Wilson, and
The Iceman Cometh.
Yeah, I'd love to get on stage, sure. But right now is busy with this, and that feels good.
If you see a magic trick now, are you like, oh, I know how they do that?
No, because I don't even want to go there. I don't ask how things are done on the magic side because I don't want them to think that I want them to start giving me magic tricks to do. It's incredible how fast Jack has learned to do so many of these really difficult tricks, whether it's, just a card trick or a coin toss. But knowing kind of more how these are pulled off and orchestrated, it doesn't make you any less impressed because you see the preparation and the such dedication that it takes to get these down that it's like, bow down.
Quick question off show.
Yeah.
You're involved in the African Services Committee.
Yeah.
Give us a little background on that and the family connection.
Yeah, my African Services Committee was started 35 years ago. It was then called CARE, Committee to Aid Ethiopian Refugees, because my dad came over from Ethiopia in a time of turmoil there. Mengistu was a dictator and was going after students and activists. So he came here and realized there was really there was no infrastructure to help other refugees resettle. So he started a program. My mother somehow found him and found the organization and started as a grant writer there. And it was really just 4 or 5 of them, and it's grown. So they've got a wonderful center here in West Harlem where they offer food pantry, legal aid, housing assistance, HIV/AIDS testing, counseling, tuberculosis, cooking classes, English courses, all kinds of things, and all at no cost to recently arrived refugees and people who have been here for a while who need a little help still getting on their feet. They've also got 5 clinics in Ethiopia, 2 of which my father has just had to close because funding is so scarce. But it's always it's wonderful work, but it never stops. It's a hustle, especially now in this kind of anti-immigrant climate. It's not made things any easier for them, but they're fabulous.
How can people support that?
Donate. It's they depend on grants, but also on individual philanthropists. Whether it's $100, I mean. $25 is like, it goes so far in Ethiopia. It's crazy. I mean, you wouldn't even believe it. But $100 is like salary for a nurse for a month there. So donate. It's the best way.
We have time for about 2 more questions, guys.
I wanted to. It's the guilty pleasure question I always ask whenever we do these interviews. It's, what's your geek guilty pleasure? Do you have one? Currently, when you were growing up, that one thing.
My geek guilty pleasure. Well, what's geeky?
Anything.
I mean, I collected Pogs and Absolute ads when I was a kid, which I think is so. It was in like 1995. It was all the rage to collect. Like Wired Mag would have these amazing Absolute ads, and we'd laminate them. Keep them in a binder. I don't know why we did. We'd trade them if they were cool or rare.
I got you. I know exactly.
You know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
I even once tried to. I tried to convince someone that I found an Absolute stamp. So I drew a little Absolute bottle stamp, and I was quickly found out and called a liar and a fraud for like all of 5th grade. But that was probably the geekiest. Yeah, I still have them all.
I do. Nice.
How would you describe your character has such great style? How would you describe your style, and who are some of your style?
Like my style icons?
Yeah.
I mean, I love anything that's. I mean, I'm not a really. How do I say this? I feel like gosh, I know. I like to be able to move. I like to be able to be active. I like a cool pair of sneakers. I like street style. I like all men's stuff. I like to be able to. It's not men's stuff anymore, which is great. There's all this. You can wear what you want. There's no boundaries there. But yeah, I mean, I'm in jeans. I'm in t-shirts. I'm in Supreme activewear. I like Palace stuff. Who do I look up to style-wise? There's a long list. I think a lot of the models today have really great looks, kind of effortless. All these it girls that you see all over Instagram. But I don't know. I just throw on stuff. For the past 5 months, I've just been in running pants every day because I get dressed at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's like, why would I put on a pair of jeans and try to look nice?
Adidas tracksuit.
Adidas tracksuit.
Gone.
That's it. Done and done. Exactly. That was the hardest question of all of these. Who are my style icons? What's my personal? No, I don't know. I don't think about it really. Just throw my stuff on. But Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you. This was
much.
so much fun.
Great.
Ask Jack to do a magic trick for you.
Oh, boy.
And he'll hate